Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we understood what is strategy design pattern. What are the rules of strategy design pattern? So there are three rules available: favor composition over inheritance, code to interfaces instead of implementation classes, code should be open for extension, and code should be closed for modification. All right. And so we developed that application and we are able to test it also. So yesterday I have given you screenshots also of the application that we have developed in our class. Are you guys able to develop this application? A bill collector class which is having a interface. Instead of talking to implementation classes, we are talking to a interface. Instead of inheritance, we are using composition. Now, this is a test class which is performing dependency injection. Bill collector class object created, and in the bill collector class, we are injecting credit card payment through setter method and a debit card payment through constructor. Okay, so this is the interface, and this interface is having implementation classes. And this implementation classes is having code and am I audible? Am I audible, guys? Good. Now, so yesterday we discussed about what is dependency injection. So can you tell me what is the dependency injection? Can you tell me what is dependency injection? The process of injecting one class object, the process of injecting one class object into another class object is called as dependency injection. The process of injecting one class object into another class object is called as dependency injection. Dependency, we can perform dependency injection in three ways. We can perform dependency injection in three ways. We can perform the dependency injection in three ways. Okay. What are the three ways that we have to perform dependency injection? First one is setter injection, and the second one is constructor injection, and the third one is field injection. First one is setter injection, and the second one is constructor injection, and the third one is field injection. Can you tell me what is the meaning of setter injection? If we inject one class object into another class object through setter method, if we perform the dependency injection using setter method, it is called as setter injection. The process of injecting one class object into another class object using setter method, then it is called as setter injection. It is called as setter injection. Example: bill collector dot set payment of new credit card payment. So now see here in this scenario, what I'm doing here, I am taking bill collector class object. In the bill collector class object, I'm injecting credit card payment by calling set payment method. So this we can call as setter injection. This we can call as a setter injection. In the code also, we have seen this. Now I have created bill collector. I have created bill collector object, bill collector BC, right? Bill collector BC is equal to new bill collector and bill collector dot set payment. Bill collector dot set payment. So this is the example for setter injection. Bill collector class is dependent on iPayment. Bill collector is dependent on iPayment. I'm injecting payment object into bill collector using setter method. So this is called as setter injection. What is constructor injection now? Can you guys tell me what is constructor injection? The process of injecting, the process of injecting one class object, one class object into another class object using constructor is called as constructor injection. Is called as constructor injection. So what is the example for the constructor injection? Directly injecting object for bill collector by using parameterized constructor, and for that constructor we are setting, this as a parameter. So in this process, bill collector class is having a dependency of iPayment. Bill collector is not talking to bill collector is not talking to the implementation class directly because of tightly coupling problem. Bill collector class is talking to interface to achieve loosely coupling. Bill collector class is talking to interface for loosely coupling. See here, bill collector class is available. The bill collector class is having dependency with the interface. That interface is having several implementations. So I can choose any one of the implementation to execute my bill collector. I can inject credit object into payment variable because payment variable belongs to interface. Interface reference variable can hold implementation class object. I can inject a debit card object into payment variable because debit card is also a implementation class for iPayment. I can inject MX card. I can inject UPI payment also. So here one interface can have multiple implementations. If a bill collector is directly talking to credit card, then these are tightly coupled classes. But here my bill collector is not talking to the credit card directly. My bill collector talking to the credit card through interface. That's why these are loosely coupled. This is strategy design pattern. Okay, that's fine. Payment variable is there. Payment variable is a reference variable. We need to inject some object into that variable. Implementation class object we need to inject into that variable. That is called a dependency injection. The process of injecting one class object into another class object is called as dependency injection. How many ways I can inject the object into this variable? 3 ways. One is by using setter. Second one is by using constructor. Third one is by using field. What is the setter? For this payment variable, I have created one setter method. By calling the setter method, I can inject this variable. By calling the setter method, I can inject this variable. If I inject one class object into another class object using setter method, then it is called as setter injection. Instead of going for setter, I will write a parameterized constructor for the bill collector, and I will call that parameterized constructor, then that is called as constructor injection. That is called as constructor injection. Are you guys clear with my point? Are you guys clear with my point? What is the setter injection and what is constructor injection now? So what is the third approach here? What is the third approach here? Instead of setter and constructor, what is the third approach we have? The third approach we have is field injection. What is the third approach we have, guys? The third approach we have is field injection. అక్కడ కూర్చుంటాను, ఇక్కడ క్లాస్ కరెంట్ పోయింది. Right, guys, now. So can you see here? So setter injection is available, constructor injection is available, and field injection is available. Are you clear with these 3 points here? Is my voice audible now? Guess we have a power cut, so I connected with mobile data. Is voice audible now? Good. Yeah. So how many ways we can perform the dependency injection? Can you tell me? In how many ways we can do the dependency injection? In 3 ways. So one is a setter, one is constructor, another one is field injection. Okay, fine. Here, setter injection, constructor injection, we are clear because we are able to inject the object by calling this setter method. This is called as a setter injection. If one class object is injected into another class object through setter method, then it is called as setter injection. If we are injecting one class object into another class object by using variable, through constructor, it is called constructor injection. Okay, we are comfortable with setter injection and constructor injection. Let's understand what is field injection now. Let's understand what is a field injection. The process of injecting the object into the variable, the process of injecting one class object into another class using variable directly is called as field injection. The process of injecting one class object into another class object using variable is called as field injection. What is the field injection now? The process of injecting one class object into another class object using variable is called as field injection. Now let us see in this bill collector, what is the variable access modifier? What is the variable access modifier, guys? Payment variable access modifier is what? Okay, private. Now, for example, if I make it as a public, can I access this variable outside? If I make this variable as a public, can I access this outside? Okay, now what I will do is I will create an object for, this is just a variable initialization. Credit card payment CCD is equal to new credit card payment. CCD is equal to new credit card payment. Now bill collector dot payment is equal to CCD. Then BC dot pay bill, collect payment. Now, so is this valid? Can I execute collect payment method? Can I execute collect payment method? Can I execute collect payment method? Am I doing initialization here? Can I say that I'm injecting the one class object into another class object by using a variable? Can I say that one class object I'm injecting into another class object by using variable? So can we call it as a field injection? Just I'm injecting one class object into another class object using variable. So this is called as variable injection. This is called as variable injection. Now run this program. Run this program. See here, are we able to execute? Are we able to execute? Come on. We are able to execute. That means, so you know what is a setter injection, what is a constructor injection, and what is a field injection. Setter injection means we will inject by using setter method. Payment variable will be initialized
by calling this setter method. If payment object injected through setter method, it is called as a setter injection. If a payment object injected by using this constructor, then it is called as constructor injection. If a payment object injected directly by using this variable, then it is called as a field injection. Now here the variable is having public modifier. That's the reason we are directly able to access outside of the class. But is it recommended to declare the variables as public? As per OOPS principles, is it recommended to declare the variables as public? No, no, it is not at all recommended. As per encapsulation, the members of the class should be private so that we can access only within the class. We can access only within the class. I'm declaring my variable as a private. Now, this is recommended actually, as Java is a object-oriented programming language. We need to follow OOPS principles. As per OOPS, the variables of the class should be declared as a private. Okay. If I declare the variable as a private, can I access the variable outside of the class? Can I access the variable outside of the class? Can we access private variables outside of the class, or we cannot access the private variables outside of the class? We cannot access the private variables outside of the class. If the variable declared as a private, am I able to perform the field injection, or am I unable to perform the field injection? Am I able to perform the field injection, or I'm unable to perform the field injection? I'm unable to perform the field injection because the variable is declared as a private. The private variable I'm unable to access outside, my field injection is failing. Can I access private variables outside of the class? Is it possible? Can I access private variables outside of the class? Is it possible? Not possible. Possible or not possible? You are saying that it is not possible. Okay, now let's give me 2 minutes of time. I will prove that you are wrong. I can access private variables also outside of the class in the Java. We can access private variables also outside of the class in the Java. I will not use a setter method. I will not use a constructor. I will access private variable also without getter, without setter. Directly I will access private variable outside of the class and I will perform field injection. Let's verify. Okay, class dot for name. Which class we want to access? Class dot for name. What is our class name? Bill collector. In which package it is available? In dot AhokIT dot bill collector. This is the class name. Class dot for name. Now throws exception. Throws exception. Class dot for name. Class dot for name is going to give me one class object. Class dot for name is giving me one class object. Okay, now class dot new instance. I'm going to get the object. New instance. I got the object. Can we typecast this object? We got the superclass object now. I want to typecast this object. I want to typecast this object. What is this object? Bill collector BC is equal to bill collector of OBJ. Okay, am I able to do the typecasting? Yes, I have done the typecasting. Guys, observe, I'm using reflection API. Class dot for name. I am loading the bill collector class into my JVM by using class dot for name. Once that class is loaded, I'm creating the object for the class by using new instance method. Then I'm typecasting that object into bill collector. Once that typecasting is completed, bill collector dot bill collector dot or else bill collector or else what is this object? Object is available new instance object dot new instance. We got the object, we got that object, and typecasting is also completed. Now by using this class, I'm going to do class dot get declared field. What is the variable? Private variable available. Payment is the private variable available in the bill collector. Can you see? Payment is the variable name which is declared as a private. I have loaded that variable. Then I'm going to do field dot set accessible to true. Field dot set accessible to true. I'm setting that variable as true. I'm going to access that variable outside. Set accessibility to true. Now, what I can do is obj is available already. Object is available. Bill collector is available now. Class dot get declared field is available now. Field dot set field dot set object and what is the value you want to store into that variable. I have the object. The value is ccd. What is the value? ccd I am setting. ccd I am setting. Okay. Now here, once we have declared that, now I am going to call bill collector dot collect payment as 2000. Bill collector dot collect payment of 2000. Now, am I accessing the private variable directly or am accessing the private variable through reflection API? Here, I am injecting the value to variable. Injecting value to variable. Now, first run this program and see, are we going to get the output? Run as Java application. Am I able to execute my method? Am I able to execute my method? Yes or no? What kind of injection I am doing here? What kind of injection I am doing? What kind of injection I am doing? Field injection. If not credit card, then I can inject debit card also. If not credit card, then I will inject debit card also. Let me run my program. Payment successful through debit card. So, are we able to perform the dependency injection through variable? Am I calling a setter method? Am I calling a setter method? Am I calling the getter method? Am I calling setter method? Am I calling the getter method? Then how I'm injecting the value to the private variable? Generally, private variables are nothing but a class members. The private variable should be accessed only within the class. But here I am doing a dependency injection through variable. Even though it is a private, I'm accessing that variable outside. Even though the variable is declared as a private, I'm able to access that variable outside. Outside. So can we call it as a field injection? Now observe, guys, the simple. Some people are not able to understand. Concentrate. I'm repeating this once again. I have a class called bill collector. I have a class called bill collector. In the bill collector class, there is a variable called payment variable. This is a dependent. My bill collector class is having a dependency with the payment, because if we want to collect the payment, then we need to take it through credit card, through debit card, or MX card, or UPI. So bill collector is not talking to the payments directly. Bill collector is talking to iPayment. iPayment is the interface. My bill collector class is having interface reference variable. Now I want to inject some object into this variable. One class object I want to inject into another class object. Now here I can say bill collector is my target, payment is my dependent. Are you guys clear with my point? Can we call bill collector class as a target and payment as a dependent? Bill collector class as a target and payment as a dependent? Yes. Now, this payment variable we want to inject. That means we want to perform dependency injection for the bill collector. We want to perform the dependency injection for bill collector. Bill collector class available and payment variable is available. We want to perform dependency injection. For this variable, we can create a setter method and we can perform the dependency injection. That is called setter injection. We can call parameterized constructor and we can inject the payment object. That is called constructor injection. So the dependency injection, nothing but The process of injecting one class object into another class object is called as dependency injection. That dependency injection can be done in three ways. If you inject the variable, if you inject the object into the payment variable using this setter method, that is called as a setter injection. If you inject a payment object into this variable using parameterized constructor, that is called as constructor injection. If you inject a payment object into payment variable directly without setter, without constructor, then it is called as field injection. But there is a problem for the field injection. Here, the variable is declared as a private. Private variables cannot be accessed outside of the class to initialize. I want to inject the value to this variable. That means I want to initialize this variable. I want to store the object into this variable. This variable belongs to interface. Interface implementation class object I want to store into this variable. Interface implementation class object I want to store into this variable. If this variable is a public, I can access the variable outside directly and I can initialize. But unfortunately, that variable is a private. As per OOPS, the variables will be declared as private. Can I access private variable outside of the class and can we initialize directly? Directly, it is not possible. There is a loophole in the Java. We can access the private variable. We can access the private variable outside also using reflection. We can access the private variables also outside by using reflection. Now see here, class dot for name. I am using class dot for name. I am loading the class into memory directly by using class dot for name. In dot AhokIT dot bill collector, that is my class name. This is my target class. I'm loading the target class into memory by using class dot for name. Okay, then once the class is loaded, I am creating instance for the class by using new instance method, class dot new instance, which is giving me the object. Why I am not creating by using new operator? If I create the object by using new operator, what is the problem? If I create the object by using new operator, can I access the variable directly using this object? I can create the object by using new operator. If I create the object, can I access that variable? I cannot access that variable because the variable is private. So that is the reason I am not going for new operator to create the object. I'm going for class dot for name. I'm going for class dot for name. The class is loaded. Once the class is loaded, for that class I am creating the object by using new instance method, class dot new instance. I got the object. That object I am doing typecasting. That object I am converting into bill collector to call the method. Typecasting I'm doing. Okay, now once the class is loaded, what I'm doing here, class dot for name, I'm loading that class. Once that class is loaded, I'm getting the variable which is private, class dot for name, the class object I got, class dot get declared field, class dot get declared field, whatever the variable which is declared in that variable, in that class as a payment variable, I am loading that variable. What is the access modifier? Private. We can't access outside. So now I am making that variable accessible outside also by using reflection. Field dot set accessible to true. Field dot set accessibility to true. That means that variable I can access outside. I can set the value to the variable. I can get the value from the variable. Now, once the variable accessibility is true, I'm creating object for the class and I'm setting the value to the private variable by using field dot set class object and value to the variable. New debit card payment is the object that I am injecting into the payment variable. This is injecting the value to the variable by calling set method. Guys, set method means, is it a setter injection? No, I'm setting the value to the variable directly. It is not setter injection. Once the value is stored to that field called payment, now I'm typecasting this class object into bill collector. Bill collector dot collect payment. Bill collector dot collect payment is going to call payment dot pay. Which payment pay is going to happen? Whichever the object you inject here, that payment process is going to happen. Execute. It is happening debit card payment. Are you clear with field injection now? Are you clear with the field injection now? How many of you know that a field injection is available? We can use that like this. How many of you know this field injection we can perform with reflection? Most of the people will tell you there are two types of dependency injections. One is a setter, another one is constructor. But there is another one also which is called field injection. Most of the people will not cover this dependency injection because they will think that the class having a variable with a private variables we can't access outside. So if you want to access the variable outside, either you need to have a setter method or you need to have a constructor to initialize the variable. But here, am I using a setter method to initialize the variable? Am I using the setter method to initialize the variable? Am I using the parameter as a constructor to initialize the variable? What is this approach? What is this approach? This approach is called as field injection. This approach is called as what, guys? This approach is called as a field injection. Now, can you tell me what is the field injection? Can you tell me what is the field injection? Come on. What is a field injection? The process of injecting one class object into another class. The process of injecting one class object into another class object using variable is called as field injection. Note, if variable is declared as private, if a variable is declared as private, then we can initialize that variable. We can access that variable outside of the class and we can initialize. If a variable is declared as private, if variable is declared as a public, if a variable is declared as a public, then we can access that variable outside of the class and we can initialize directly. If a variable is declared as public, then we can access that variable outside of the class and we can initialize directly. If a variable is declared as private, then we can access that variable using reflection API. If variable is declared as a private, then we cannot access directly outside of the class. We can't access that variable outside of the class directly. To access private variables outside of the class, we can use reflection API. To access private variables outside of the class, we can use reflection API. Guys, please read these points. What is the field injection? Could you please read it? Could you please read it? Clear for all of you? Still anybody not able to understand how I'm doing the field injection? Guys, why I have explained the field injection is tomorrow IOC container will use this field injection. IOC container is going to use the field injection. IOC container will use field injection. So tomorrow we are going to encounter this in our coming classes. So I have sent the class for field injection. Look at this. See the code. Here question mark is available, right? That is a generic type. What type of class is loading? That class you can represent question mark. It is a generic type. It is a generic type. Look at the code. Yes. You got the concept? Set accessible is making that variable is accessible outside. What is that? Class dot for name. Class dot for name is used to load the class into JVM. Get declared field means to get the variable which is available in the class. Set accessible to true. That means we are making that variable is accessible outside. Basically, private variables are cannot accessed outside, right? So by using that 11th line, I am making that variable is accessible outside also. Set accessibility to true. So I'm breaking the oops principles here. Then I am getting the object for the class which is loaded by using new instance method. Then field dot set object comma debit card payment object. By default it is false. Set accessibility is by default false. That's why you cannot access outside of the class. We are making it as true. Default value is false. We can't access private variables outside. So if you set accessibility is true, then you can set the value from outside also. Field dot set of object comma new debit card payment, injecting the value to the variable. Bill collector is equal to new bill collector object I'm creating. Am I creating the object by using new operator? I'm creating the object by using class dot for name. Am I creating the object by using new operator, or am I using class dot for name to create the object? I'm using class dot for name to create the object. Once the object is created, I'm typecasting that object into my bill collector class object to call the method. I'm calling collect payment. Yes, you need to know the variable which is private, then only you can load it. Okay, now tell me, guys, is this field injection recommended or field injection not recommended? Is this field injection recommended or field injection not recommended? Field injection not recommended because we are going against oops principles. As per oops principles, private variables should be accessed outside of the class. But what I have variables outside, which is against our oops principles, Are you clear? Guys, still we did not enter into the Spring. Still we are talking about core Java only. How to develop a project by using strategy design pattern. Still we did not enter into the Spring framework. We are developing the project by using core Java. The question mark in the line number 8, that is a generic type. Okay. Good. Guys, fine. So with this, we understood what is a setter injection, what is a constructor injection, and what is field injection. And you may have a question. Sir, out of these three, which one is recommended? That question you will have. So I will compare those things in the coming classes, when to go for setter, when to go for setter, when to go for constructor, and when to go for field injection. We will discuss in the coming classes. Field injection is strictly not recommended to use. Field injection is strictly not recommended to use because we are going against OOPS principles. We are making the private variables accessible outside also by using reflection API. It is not at all recommended. So with this, we developed our application by using strategy design pattern. We are able to implement that with interfaces. There is no tightly coupling. My bill collector class is completely loosely coupled with the payment process. Okay. Setter injection. I have a setter method to do the setter injection. I have a constructor to do the constructor injection. And directly I'm doing the field injection also by using reflection API. But using the reflection API is not recommended. Sir, when it is not recommended, why you have explained to us? So tomorrow in the Spring framework as well as in the Spring Boot, tomorrow in the interview, if they ask tomorrow in the interview, they may ask you what is a field injection or our IOC container. We are going to learn the IOC container tomorrow. Our IOC container also going to perform the field injection, even though it is not recommended. Spring IOC container also will perform the field injection. I think in your project, in several classes, you might have seen at the rate auto wide annotation at the variable level. Guys, the working people, in your project, have you seen auto wide annotation at the variable level? If you have seen auto wide annotation at the variable level, that means internally it is going to perform the field injection only. If you write the auto wide annotation at the setter method level, that means it is going to perform the setter injection. If you write the auto wide annotation at the constructor level, that means it is going to perform the constructor injection. If you write the auto wide annotation at the variable level, that means it is going to perform the variable injection, which is called as field injection, which is not recommended. If you write the auto wide annotation at the setter method, it is going to inject the object by calling the setter method. If you write the auto wide annotation at the constructor level, it will inject the object by using constructor. If you write the auto wide annotation at the variable level, internally it will execute this logic only to perform the dependency injection, which is not at all recommended. Even though it is not recommended, IOC container is using field injection. Field injection is not at all recommended to use. All of you, the people who are working in the company, you check your code. If any developer is writing auto wide annotation at the variable level, tell them that internally it is using field injection. Field injection means it is using reflection API. Using the reflection API, it is injecting the value to the private variable from outside of the class, which is against OOPS principles. Are you guys able to understand where IOC container is using field injection? Yes. Still, we did not enter into the Spring framework. Once we enter into the Spring framework, I will tell you how to use this auto wiring and what is the problem with the auto wiring at the variable level. So today, our topic is not auto wiring. Our topic is just dependency injection. Understood? Three ways: setter, constructor, and field. Okay, good. Fine, guys. So I have sent this class in the chat box. So please practice this before coming to tomorrow's session. So today also I'm closing the session little early because we have a power cut. I have less charging and I have another class to take at 8 o'clock. So with this, I'm stopping for today. We'll continue in the tomorrow session. Tomorrow we are going to understand IOC container and how to develop the application by using IOC container. As of now, we developed application without using IOC container only. Now, who is doing the dependency injection? Who is using the dependency injection? Who is performing the dependency injection? In our existing project, programmer is performing the dependency injection, IOC container performing the dependency injection. Who is performing the dependency injection? In this example, we are the programmers, we are performing the dependency injection. But actually, do we really need to perform the dependency injection? Do we really need to perform the dependency injection? No. Who will perform the dependency injection? IOC container. So how to use the IOC container? What is that IOC container? That we are going to discuss in the tomorrow session. Okay. Now, the people who has not done the enrollment, so please complete it. So this is our WhatsApp number. You can send a message for more details. I have given you institute WhatsApp number. Just click on the link and send a message for enrollment process. If you are not able to access the class notes also, please send a message to this WhatsApp number. Click on that link. Sure. Okay. Thank you guys. So I will send this video and I will send this class notes to you. Please go through this and practice it. Tomorrow we are going to do our first example by using Spring Framework. Thank you. We'll meet in tomorrow's session. Bye-bye. Have a great day. Tomorrow we have class at regular time.